They see the screen. I'm close in age to them, just on the bridge of being from teenager to young adulthood, and they see me triumph over evil, and they think I could do that. I mean, it's a strong identification thing, and in the princess's case, rather than a damsel in distress, she's right there with the boys shooting the laser guns. Girls love that because they know if they were being chased by the baddies, they'd shoot back just like we would. The characters were so fully realized in the screenplay. I imagine very close to the way they finally cast 3PO in his dialogue, his fussiness, his preciseness. He at one point in the film he says, "I've forgotten how much I hate space travel." He would be much more at home serving hors d'oeuvres and discussing opera with a sophisticated crowd. Now this guy, R2-D2, was dubbed later, so if he had a line or something, we would react to it as if he said it, and they'd put it in later. That was the only stretch. Other than that, our 3PO was played by Anthony Daniels, and I could hear him, muffled, mind you, but I could hear him, and it was strange. As the movie progressed, even though he has an expressionless face, I could see expressions, anger, fear. I mean, he was very real to me. It was kind of a shock when they'd take his head off and there was a human being inside. Especially an Englishman. He's our mechanical Hudson, you see.
Is there anything I might do to help?
Well,
he's really based very much on the robot in Fritz Lang's Metropolis.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But the one in Metropolis only walked forward 3 paces, and George tells me that they wanted it to do a lot more, and it couldn't, so they had to compromise. It was George's idea that it should be like the robot in Metropolis. I mean, every frame in the movie is very much George's. I mean, makes a big contribution to the whole, every aspect of the movie, really.
And did you find all the time, Mark, that when you were acting with were there always people in the robots that you were talking to, or sometimes were you just using the duplicates?
Sometimes we were using radio control robots.
Yes.
you never tell. There would be 5 or 6 R2-D2s, and everyone would break for lunch. You hear a little voice, "Let me out! Let me out!" And everybody was betting 2 pounds on which R2-D2 he's in. Get his head off. Okay, you win.
We think this is one of the ones which was a duplicate. It was not the one that Kenny Baker
was... Well, this is one of the ones that Kenny was in, actually.
Is it?
Yes, there were 8 or 9 different ones. They all did different things because of the technical requirements of the script.
And they were terribly heavy, I believe,
Well, this is one of the ones made out of metal. There were 2 or 3 of them were made out of fiberglass, which were a little easier for him to deal with.
Did you have any malfunctions with the equipment,
yes,
apart from the actors?
The robots. Well, that was one of the things that actually made them so endearing, was that they started doing things that just like real actors will do, screwing up occasionally.
Very temperamental.
Yes, R2 would stop functioning sometimes completely. The radio control wouldn't function in the radio control version, or he would fall over, or a couple of times out in the desert he ran into 3PO and knocked him down.
Didn't in Africa they were running him on radio control, and we started picking up Arabic pop stations, which freaked him out completely.
Throw the radio control off, and sometimes he would start up in the middle of a scene when he wasn't supposed to. So it was rather bizarre, actually, but it was a lot of fun. Everybody got to really like them all because of that. That was one of the things that made them more real.
I noticed you talk about them as if they were real characters.
Yes, well, they are. They sort of became real characters to us, always.
Did you find yourself actually unconsciously behaving tenderly towards them, or affectionately?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely.
There's a portion in the film where R2 is ambushed and he falls face down into the dirt, and every audience I've seen it with goes, "Oh," like when Lassie got wounded or something.
Yes.
He's like a mechanical teddy bear. Everybody wants to hold and squeeze him.
Yes.
Cuddle him.
And what about the hardware in the film, apart from the architecture and the set design?
Well, one of the things we did, which proved to be a great help, I had this idea of getting a lot of junk. We bought £15,000 worth of wrecked aeroplanes and took it to pieces, and then used those pieces, which are in themselves very interesting, to build For instance, the bar in where they meet Han Solo, the whole of the bar back is all built of old jet engines, lacquered gold, and R2's sort of eye turret is in fact the air conditioning unit from a Caravelle, that sort of thing. So, you know, they are more interesting than you can imagine or produce in the time available.
Because they were designed for a function anyway.
A lot of intelligence has gone into their conception to start with, and it shows. They look interesting.
I think there's no denying that the production design and the special effects are fascinating, and John Barry modestly gives much of the credit for the concept to George Lucas himself. What I find more unsatisfactory is the story, which seems a bit wet, even for a fairy tale romance. Some fairy tales are pretty nasty after all. A friend of mine actually went to sleep watching Star Wars, but then he is over 18. Criticisms of the film for being fascist, too, seem a bit humourless. Never gets into a senior enough league as far as ideas go, even to hit that low point. I suppose what those critics are thinking of is this kind of thing.
I call it luck. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
I must say I find all that talk about letting go your conscious self and stretching out with your feelings a bit depressing, especially in a society that depends on technology. The Force is just a muscular version of flower power that can excuse anything so long as you believe they're in the right. And who doesn't? And insofar as it is a children's film, it might be more useful to show children that good and evil are not always so easily recognized, especially in fairy tales. The fact that the adult population of America is still queuing devotedly for this amusing children's film with its easy answers to real problems is not the best news of the year.